Elon Musk. Elon Musk does not view the world as a place to live, but as a complex operating system that is long overdue for a total hardware upgrade. While most children were playing with toys, Musk was decoding entire encyclopedias, consuming data, at a rate that suggested his mind was already operating on a different frequency. His first major breakthrough came with the creation of an electronic payment gateway, a move that effectively digitized the global wallet and set the stage for his much larger ambitions. But Musk's true genius was revealed when he decided to tackle the most expensive and high-risk industry on the planet, the reach into the stars. In the early days of SpaceX, he was viewed as a dreamer destined for failure, especially after 3 consecutive launches ended in spectacular, fiery neutralization. With his last remaining funds on the line, the 4th launch succeeded, proving that the vertical integration of technology was the secret code to conquering the heavens. He then turned his focus to the surface, deciding that the internal combustion engine was a relic of a primitive past that needed to be erased from the road. Tesla was not just a car company. It was a Trojan horse designed to force the entire global automotive industry to adopt sustainable energy or face extinction. Musk's work ethic is legendary and terrifying, often operating in hardcore mode, where 100-hour work weeks and sleeping on the factory floor are the standard requirements for his team. He views the human brain as having a bandwidth problem, leading to the creation of an interface designed to merge our biological minds with the speed of artificial intelligence. To Musk, the ultimate goal is not profit, but the preservation of the light of consciousness by making life multi-planetary before an unforeseen event resets the clock. He is a master of first principles thinking, a method where you strip every problem down to its fundamental physics and rebuild the solution from the ground up. This mindset allowed him to build rockets that land themselves, a feat that traditional aerospace giants claimed was physically impossible for decades. But his genius comes with a chaotic edge. His impulsive nature often creates storms in the digital world, turning a single message into a global market fluctuation. Whether you view him as a savior of the species or a high-stakes disruptor, it is undeniable that Elon Musk has decoded the path to the future and is dragging the rest of us along with him. He has transformed the way we move, the way we pay, and the way we look at the stars, proving that a single-focused mind can outpace entire governments. The core lesson of Musk's genius is that the only true limits are the ones we accept, because we are too afraid to do the math and question the status quo. As he continues his push toward the red planet, the world watches to see if his greatest legacy will be a new home for humanity or the most ambitious project ever neutralized by reality. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't just build computers. He decoded the secret language of human desire and translated it into elegant pieces of glass and brushed aluminum. He believed that technology should not be a complex machine you struggle to use, but a seamless extension of your own biology that you feel. In a dusty garage in California, he and Steve Wozniak decoded the future, turning a small hobbyist's project into the first machine for the masses. Jobs realized that the average person didn't want to type lines of code. They wanted to touch, point, and click on an intuitive interface. He visited Xerox PARC and effectively performed an intellectual heist, taking the mouse and the graphical interface to build the first Macintosh. He was a master of the reality distortion field, a psychological aura that convinced everyone around him that the impossible was actually achievable. But his uncompromising perfectionism was a double-edged sword, eventually leading to his exile from the very empire he had fought to create. During his time in the wilderness, he decoded the future of storytelling, turning a small graphics division into the global titan known as Pixar. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company was weeks away from financial neutralization. But Jobs brought the Think Different code back with him. He erased the corporate clutter and focused on a single philosophy. Simple can be harder than complex, and the world responded with the iMac. In 2001, he promised to put 1,000 songs in your pocket, effectively ending the era of the physical disc and digitizing our culture. His greatest masterpiece arrived in 2007, a device that converged the phone, the internet, and the music player into a single slab of magic. Jobs famously refused to conduct market research because he believed that people don't know what they want until you show it to them. He was a digital conductor who knew that every detail, even the parts of a computer no one would see, had to be beautiful. His Stay hungry, stay foolish speech became the ultimate code for a generation of disruptors who refused to accept the world as it was. Even as his own biological hardware began to fail, his vision remained sharper and clearer than the screens he helped create. Steve Jobs proved that design is not just what something looks like, but how the entire mechanism of human interaction actually works. He left behind an empire that dictates the aesthetic of the 21st century, leaving us with a world that is permanently Jobs decoded. Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was a man from the future who found himself trapped in the wrong century, a scientific wizard who decoded the very laws of the electromagnetic universe. While other inventors relied on trial and error, Tesla utilized a mental laboratory, visualizing complex machines in his head with such precision that he never needed a physical prototype. He arrived in America with nothing but 4 cents in his pocket and a letter of recommendation to Thomas Edison, claiming he could rewire the entire planet's energy grid. But the partnership with Edison quickly dissolved, sparking the War of Currents, a high-stakes battle between Tesla's efficient alternating current and Edison's primitive direct current. To protect his monopoly, Edison launched a brutal smear campaign using lethal demonstrations on animals to convince the public that Tesla's current was too dangerous for the home. Tesla responded with pure showmanship, allowing hundreds of thousands of volts to pass through his own body in public to prove that his technology was the code to a safer future. His ultimate victory arrived at the 1893 World's Fair, where he effectively flipped the switch on the modern world, lighting up the White City with a brilliance never seen before. He then mastered the power of nature itself, building the first hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls, proving that gravity was the most reliable fuel on Earth. Tesla's genius was not limited to wires. He decoded the world's first remote control boat, an invention so advanced that the military initially thought it was controlled by a trained monkey. He held the primary patent for radio technology, a fact that was only legally recognized after his departure, proving he was the true father of wireless communication. Tesla's greatest ambition was the Wardenclyffe Tower, a massive structure designed to provide free, wireless energy to every human being on the planet simultaneously. But his financial backers, led by J.P. Morgan, withdrew their support when they realized they couldn't put a meter on a wireless energy signal and charge for it. As the tower was neutralized and sold for scrap, Tesla retreated into a world of increasing isolation, where his only companions were the pigeons of New York City. He became obsessed with the number 3, famously walking around a building 3 times before entering and refusing to stay in any hotel room whose number wasn't divisible by 3. Tesla claimed to have invented a teleforce beam, a weapon of such terrifying power that it could end all wars by creating a permanent peace wall around any nation. He died alone in a hotel room in 1943, and within hours his safe was opened and his top-secret papers were seized by the government to prevent their technology from falling into the wrong hands. Nikola Tesla proved that a single human mind could envision the future of an entire species, even if that species wasn't ready for the gifts he was offering. He left us with a world that is completely wireless, completely electrified, and fundamentally built on the frequency he decoded a century ago. Today, his name is synonymous with the cutting edge of technology, a reminder that the true masters of lightning are those who care more about the invention than the profit. Ultimately, the story of Nikola Tesla is a code for every dreamer. You can lose your money, your towers, and your reputation, but you can never lose the light you've given to the world. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was the ultimate polymath, a man who didn't just paint the world, but decoded its deepest biological and mechanical secrets centuries before the rest of humanity. He treated the human eye as the primary tool of the scientist, believing that knowing how to see was the secret code to mastering every discipline from art to engineering. Leonardo's curiosity was a high-frequency engine that never stopped, leading him to fill thousands of pages of journals with mirror-written notes to protect his intellectual inventory. In his anatomical studies, he performed detailed dissections of over 30 bodies, decoding the hidden mechanics of muscles, nerves, and the very first accurate map of the human heart. He was an architect of the sky, obsessively studying the flight of birds to design ornithopters flying machines that utilized a mechanical version of avian biology. But his genius was often diverted into the creation of lethal hardware for the powerful dukes of Italy, designing armored vehicles and giant crossbows to ensure military dominance. Leonardo understood that the secret to the Mona Lisa's smile wasn't just paint, but a deep decoding of the facial nerves and the physics of how light hits the human skin. He famously utilized sfumato, a technique of smoky blurring that erased the hard edges of reality, making his subjects appear as if they were actually breathing in 3D space. Leonardo was a master of the delayed masterpiece, often spending years on a single painting because he was too busy decoding the mathematics of a whirlpool or the fossils in a mountain. He designed the first robotic knight, a mechanical suit of armor capable of moving its jaw and waving its arms through a complex system of pulleys and cables. His vision for the future was so advanced that he designed a double-walled city to neutralize the effects of the plague, separating traffic into pedestrian and commercial levels. Leonardo's Vitruvian Man decoded the divine proportions of the human body, proving that our biology was the ultimate intersection of art, geometry, and the universe. He was a vegetarian who would often buy caged birds in the market just to release them, a gesture that proved his genius was balanced by a deep empathy for all biological life. Despite his legendary status, he left behind fewer than 20 finished paintings, as he was constantly distracted by the next unsolvable code the world presented to him. Leonardo famously claimed that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, a code that would eventually influence every modern designer from Steve Jobs to Johnny Ive. He died in 1519, allegedly in the arms of the King of France, leaving behind thousands of pages of unfinished genius that would take the world 500 years to fully decode. Leonardo da Vinci proved that there are no borders between the sciences and the arts, only a single, unified reality that is waiting for a mind sharp enough to see it. He remains the standard for the Renaissance man, a reminder that the world is a giant lock, and human curiosity is the only key that will ever fit. Today, we look at his sketches of parachutes, tanks, and scuba gear, and realize that Leonardo was simply waiting for the world's hardware to catch up with his software. Ultimately, the story of Leonardo is a code for every observer. If you look long enough and deep enough, the entire universe will eventually reveal its blueprints to you. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein did not just study the physical world. He performed a total hardware upgrade on the laws of physics, shattering the old clockwork reality that had governed science for centuries. As a child, he was viewed as a slow learner, but in reality, he was busy decoding the invisible forces of the universe, mesmerized by a simple pocket compass that always pointed north. He spent his early career as a lowly clerk in a Swiss patent office, a position that allowed him to secretly decode the most complex puzzles of the universe while the world thought he was just a bureaucrat. In his Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year of 1905, he published 4 papers that effectively neutralized every existing theory about light, matter, and the very fabric of existence. Einstein decoded the relationship between energy and matter with a single elegant string of characters, proving that even a tiny piece of wood or metal contains enough hidden power to fuel a city. He reimagined time not as a steady, universal ticking, but as a fluid river that can slow down or speed up depending on how fast you're moving through the cosmos. His general theory of relativity decoded gravity, revealing that space is not empty, but a fabric that curves and stretches under the weight of massive objects like a cosmic blanket. Einstein became a global celebrity in 1919 when a solar eclipse proved his theories were correct, effectively turning a humble scientist into the world's first intellectual rock star. He used his fame to champion global peace, but his genius cast a long shadow when he realized his formula for energy could be weaponized into the most devastating firepower ever known. In a frantic bid to stop a global catastrophe, he sent a letter to the president decoding the potential for a superweapon, which accidentally triggered the start of the nuclear age. Einstein spent his final decades at Princeton, obsessively searching for the unified field theory, a single code that would merge the laws of the tiny atom with the laws of the giant stars. He famously claimed that God does not play dice with the universe, expressing his belief that reality was built on a logical and consistent set of underlying rules. Einstein was a master of the thought experiment, solving the mysteries of the universe by simply imagining what it would be like to ride on a beam of light. He was an eccentric who refused to wear socks, believing they were a useless social hardware that restricted the biological freedom of his feet. His brain was so valuable that it was removed and preserved after his departure, a final attempt by scientists to decode the biological source of his transcendent intelligence. Albert Einstein proved that imagination is more important than knowledge, because while knowledge describes the world as it is, imagination decodes the world as it could be. He left us with a reality where GPS satellites, lasers, and nuclear energy are all possible because of the relativistic blueprints he drew a century ago. Today, his face is the universal icon for genius, a reminder that the most powerful tool in the cosmos is a mind that is unafraid to ask why and what if. He demonstrated that the universe is not just strange, but far stranger than we can imagine, waiting for the next great decoder to find the next hidden layer. Ultimately, the story of Albert Einstein is a message to every curious mind. The stars are not out of reach, they are just waiting for you to understand the language they speak. Marie Curie. Marie Curie was not just a scientist, she was a pioneer of the invisible world who decoded the high-energy secrets hidden within the very foundation of matter. Born in Poland under a regime that restricted education for women, she realized early on that knowledge was a clandestine weapon that no authority could ever fully neutralize. She moved to Paris with almost no resources, living in a cold attic and surviving on bread and tea while she decoded the complex mathematics of physics and chemistry at the Sorbonne. Marie teamed up with her husband Pierre, transforming a dilapidated wooden shed into a high-frequency laboratory where they began their search for a mystery inventory hidden in mineral ore. They spent years performing backbreaking manual labor, stirring massive vats of boiling chemicals to isolate a single drop of a substance that the world had never seen before. Curie decoded the phenomenon of radioactivity, a term she invented to describe the process where unstable atoms release bursts of invisible energy into the atmosphere. Her first major discovery was polonium, named after her homeland, followed by radium, an element so powerful it emitted a permanent ghostly light that she kept in vials by her bed. In 1903, she became the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize, effectively breaking the glass ceiling of the scientific world and proving that genius has no biological bias. But her radiant discoveries came with a hidden cost. Marie was completely unaware that the very energy she decoded was slowly neutralizing the biological hardware of her own body. When World War I erupted, Curie didn't stay in her lab. She realized that her technology could be repurposed into a mobile life-saving apparatus for the front lines. She created the Little Curies, the world's first mobile X-ray units, and personally drove them into the conflict zones to decode the location of shrapnel inside wounded soldiers. In 1911, she received a second Nobel Prize in a different field, making her the only person in history to be recognized for two separate scientific disciplines. Curie was an intellectual titan who refused to patent her radium isolation process, believing that the secrets of nature should be free for the benefit of all humanity. She founded the Radium Institute, a high-tech fortress of research that would eventually produce more Nobel Prize winners and decode the foundations of modern cancer therapy. Even decades after her departure, her laboratory notebooks remain so radioactive that they must be kept in lead-lined boxes, and anyone who wishes to read them must wear protective gear. Marie Curie proved that a single mind, fueled by curiosity and courage, can illuminate the darkest corners of the universe and change the trajectory of human history. She left us with a reality where we can look inside the human body without a single cut and harness the power of the atom for the entire planet's energy grid. Today, her legacy is a permanent beacon for every scientist. The pursuit of truth is a journey that requires you to be as resilient and radiant as the elements you discover. She demonstrated that true genius is not just about understanding the world, but about having the inner strength to confront the dangers that come with that understanding. Ultimately, the story of Marie Curie is a code for the future. The light we find in the darkness is our greatest gift, even if we must give everything to bring it to the world. If you want to see more, click on the video on the screen now.